going on, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. You know who I am. And in this video, I'm doing my top 10 best movies of 2020. Now, I'll leave a link in the description for my top 10 worst movies of 2020. So be sure you check that out. And give that, subscribe button a hit. And click that notification bell so you can be up to date on new videos coming out. So let's get to my top 10 best movies of 2020. Number 10. Soul. Soul was a very different Pixar animated movie that we have never seen. It's more so for adults than it is kids, but it's the meaning of life and what you have to do in order to get back to doing certain things that you love in order to make amends with yourself and your true being. And it's really, really good. The animation's crisp, it's clean, it's perfect, it's fun, and the movie's funny. And of course there's been some backlash for it. Of course there's always backlash for a Pixar movie, and there's nothing, is ever positive about a Pixar movie. Even the message behind it is positive, but the negative connotations of when people watch it are like, oh, this movie is not, people need to stop doing that. But other than that, this movie was really fun to watch. It was really good, and it was interesting, and like I said, it was very, very funny. So number 10 is Soul. Number 9 on my list is The Lodge. Some of you I know have not heard of this movie, but this movie tells a story, it's basically a horror story. This woman, so to speak, and this woman is played by Riley Keough, who is Elvis Presley's granddaughter in real life. She is a woman who comes into the life of another man, and somehow she, wants to be close with his kids and, make good with them, all the while that something else is happening along and the kids are doing stuff to her. I don't want to get into detail because it's a very fantastic movie. It's a shocking movie. Some of the scenes were interesting, and there's a scene in the beginning that just gets right to the point and it doesn't even stop. And then that kickstarts everything on from here on out. And the story is great. The twist aspect is really good. And it's a good horror thriller that you just watch and you're like, holy shit, what's happening? Can we actually, figure stuff out? It's a really good movie for its purpose of being a creepy movie, and it was done so well. And I really don't put that many horror movies on my top 10 lists for, best movies, but this one was really, really good, and it was really, really fun to watch. So number 9 on my list is The Lodge. Number 8 on my list is Nomadland. Now this tells a story about a woman who just forgoes everything and goes on and just wants to live that nomadic lifestyle, and she meets people along the way who, give her that meaning of life, so to speak. It's directed by Chloe Zhao, and it's one of those movies where the cinematography is great, the acting's great, and it's just so perfect that, it's one of those movies where, wow, this is the kind of movie we need, especially for the circumstances and times that we're going through, just to, see what things are about. And Chloe Zhao is an amazing, amazing director, and she is doing great things. And if you haven't seen this movie, you really need to do so because it's that damn good. So number 8 on my list is Nomadland. Number 7 on my list is one of the most interesting, fun movies I've seen, and one of the most fun times I had at the movies. And this was actually the last movie I saw at the movie theaters before the pandemic happened. And this movie is Sonic the Hedgehog. I absolutely loved this movie for what it was, because they changed the design of what Sonic would look like. He was more cartoony. He was more understanding. The first time they did that design for Sonic made no sense at all. I'm pretty sure that was an unfinished version, and they just put the trailer out there to get backlash and just to see how people would react, and then they changed it. But listen, they made things better. And this movie was fun to watch. This movie is definitely for kids. It's definitely for adults. It's for the whole family. Because, like myself, when I was a kid, I played on the Sega Genesis. I played a Sega. I had a Sega. And I played the Sonic video games. And hearing that, that music, that tune, seeing him run around with the coins, and the coins making an appearance in this movie, it's really, really fun and really good to watch. This movie is a quick watch. It's a fun watch. It's great. It's very underrated in my opinion. And Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik was just so good and perfect. I mean, I don't think any other actor could pull off the role, but Jim Carrey did a perfect job. And I can't actually wait for the second one to come out because, hey, we could get Tails, we could get Knuckles. If we get Tails and Knuckles, then this franchise just hit it out of the ballpark with a grand slam home run, because those two other characters are what Sonic the Hedgehog is, and it just works so well. So number 7 on my list is Sonic the Hedgehog. Number 6 on my list is The Call. The Call is a South Korean movie, and it's from the same story of the British and Puerto Rican film The Caller. Now this movie tells the story of two women where their fates are interchanged by a phone call. And the interesting thing about this movie is that it's a thriller, it's a horror, it's an interesting concept and idea of how things are done. South Korea knows how to make movies. South Korea knows how to make movies better. This movie was better than the British and the Puerto Rican versions. And the interesting thing about this is that the ending was so fantastic and it was so well done that they definitely changed things. And you can feel the tension of the actresses, how the characters are worked, how things are done. And some of the cinematography and the shots were fantastic, and it was so interesting. Even though this story has been done different times in different ways over the past decades of films, this is a different version, different take on this story. It's creepy, but it's creepy in a way where it's a good creepy. And once you watch this movie, you can't get enough of it, and you just want more and more. There are some characters that you're going to root for, and then some characters you just want to not root for. And just for the case of it, there's one character who is, you're like, all right, why are they doing this? What's going on? And then you find out why, or what the phone call is. I mean, this goes into the idea of what happens if you actually get a phone call from some other worldly place, and things take a turn. This is what that movie is, and this is what that movie goes into. And it's really, really good and really, really well done. It's actually on Netflix, so you can check it out. And it's a fantastic, fun movie. So if you want something for entertainment, if you want something to be blown away by, check out The Call. So number 6 on my list is The Call. So number 5 on my list is another South Korean movie. This one's called Alive. Now, Alive tells the story about a zombie apocalypse that happens in South Korea, and about a man who is alone in his apartment building and doesn't know that there's anyone else around. But then he finds out that there's a woman across the way in another apartment building who that he communicates with, and from there on they're trying to escape the horde of zombies that are in this movie. This movie is filled with tension. Technology-wise, it's great because they show how technology is used in so many ways, how we fight for survival, how we need to fight for survival. And like I said, Korea knows how to do zombie movies and horror movies, and this is just goes to show that this is one of them. Hey, I did a reaction to the trailer for Alive, and I got tremendous feedback on it because this looked like a fantastic movie, and my review on it was, hey, I gave this movie 5 out of 5 stars because it was good. So it's going to go on my best movies list of 2020. So if you haven't seen this movie, you need to do so because it's really good. The directing is great. There's not much emotional aspect to it, but when one of the main characters goes into a certain dialogue-filled, story, then it goes off on certain things. Of course, there's a leeway where, the story is being said, it's slow, and all of a sudden, boom, zombies happen. And these zombies are very different. And the reason I want to say they're different is because the way they're depicted, of course, they're your fast zombies, but they have an intellectual idea or process behind them that I don't want to give away because it actually makes the story that much better. So number 5 on my list is Alive. Number 4 on my list is Spike Lee's The Five Bloods. This movie was one of those movies where, it's a Spike Lee movie, and you can tell it's a Spike Lee movie, but it was done so well. The directing was great. Of course, Spike Lee's a great director. He's very underrated. Doesn't get that much recognition as he should, but, of course, with the controversy he does and what he says, but hey, it's Spike Lee. He says what he says. If you don't like it, tough, then you don't have tough skin to take it on. The good thing about this is that the acting was great. Delroy Lindo was fantastic. Chadwick Boseman in one of his almost, final roles before he passed away from, colon cancer was really good. His character was great. And the thing about this movie is that Spike Lee did a thing where he used all the actors in their normal form when they show the past events. They didn't take the route of de-aging the process of these characters like The Irishman did with Martin Scorsese's movie and Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino in that. This movie stayed true to the course where they used the real actors even in the past scenes as well, even in the present as well. So it actually made the movie much better. It made the story go along much better. And, hey, it's the effects of the Vietnam War, what the African American people went through during the Vietnam War, because there's not much, said about what the African Americans went through during the Vietnam War either. And for Spike Lee to touch on a subject like this, to show what was happening with the underlining story of why these guys did what they did, is very interesting. And of course, it's good to see a movie like this, because it's one of those movies where it's like, holy shit, this movie was fantastic. And it was just that. It was a really, really well done, good movie. So number 4 on my list is The Five Bloods. Number 3 on my list, many of you probably have not seen or forgot that it existed or not heard of it. It's The Gentleman, which is directed by Guy Ritchie and stars Matthew McConaughey, and it tells a story about a marijuana kingpin who just, takes the market by storm, and people just want a cut of it, and it's interesting. Hugh Grant is in this. Hugh Grant is really funny in this. Hugh Grant gives a great interpretation of how comedy is done. Matthew McConaughey is great. He's in the movie quite a bit, This movie's fun. This movie's interesting, and it's funny. It's a funny movie. It's Guy Ritchie going back to his gangster movie days of Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch. And seeing those movies, you think, oh, he can't go back to the, times of when he was making good movies, and making good British action comedy movies. But no, he did a fantastic job with The Gentleman. And, the actors are great. The acting's fantastic. And like I said, Guy Ritchie's a great, great director. He's a very underrated director, especially for his cinematography that he does and knows how to work things, It just goes to show that anything's possible. The story is great. The story is funny, and it's basically a story about, marijuana, dealing it, who wants a cut of it, how they want a cut of it, why they want a cut of it, and who would go to great lengths to stop someone from, taking their own empire away from them. And, it's really fun to watch, and if you haven't seen it, you need to do so. The movie came out in January of 2020, so it was pre-pandemic stages, so people did see it at the theaters, and I didn't get to see it until, until it was on video on demand, and it was really worth the watch, and I really, really enjoyed it. So number 3 on my list is The Gentleman. Number 2 on my list is Menard. This was a great, great heartfelt movie. It was fun. And I did a review on it recently, and I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. I'll leave a link to mostly some of the reviews that I've done that are in my top 10 in the description box below, so you guys can check it out. And Menard was really good because the story was good, and it basically tells the story about a Korean family immigrant who come to Arkansas to make a better life for themselves, all the while underlining factors are happening in their daily life, and they have to keep their family together, their marriage together, and how Steven Yeun portrayed his role, and how Lee Isaac Chung directed and wrote the movie, and it's a semi-autobiographical take on his life. And I just want to say Alan Kim as the young boy was fantastic. It was so, so good. And he recently won the Best Young Actor/Actress Award at the 26th Annual Critics' Choice Awards. His acceptance speech was great, and all of a sudden he just started to cry. And it was really great to see, and I see a lot of great things for Alan Kim in the industry of Hollywood for him. He's going to get a lot of movie roles for sure, and I can't wait to see what he does. And if Menard is a very, like I said, heartfelt movie. It's an emotional movie. It's drama. It's in your face. It's straight in your face, and it shows the trials and tribulations of what it takes to make it in America. When you're an Asian family, an immigrant, and it touches on certain subjects that Lee Isaac Chung touched on, and that probably he went through during his life, and he put it in this movie, which is really, really good. So number 2 on my list is Menard. Now, my number 1 movie of 2020 is Another Round. It stars Mads Mikkelsen and tells the story of 4 friends who do an experiment or they drink alcohol and they have to keep their alcohol blood level content up to a certain number to see the effects that happens in their daily lives. The content of this is great, even though some people think it's a contributing factor to alcoholism. You're promoting alcoholism. That's not the case. This movie is a movie. Just watch it as a movie. Don't go anything deeper than that, because anyone who delves deep into, watching a movie and saying, we're going to do this and that, and they're going to cancel this, cancel that, don't do that, because you're taking the fun of it away from yourself. Just watch a movie for what a movie is and then critique it afterwards. All right? Don't do anything else other than watch a movie. And this movie is what it is. This movie is funny at times. This movie is very dramatic. And it goes through the trials and tribulations of each character and the four friends of what they're going through in their life, and how somehow, alcohol relaxes them and then better concentration happens. All the while, they keep going at it, and then, of course, alcohol, takes you on a downward spiral. They show that also in this. This movie's about life, understanding life, what life is, how to, take it control, how to grab it, and, don't let go of it. And in the ending, it's one of the most cinematic scenes that I've ever seen, and one of the best endings to a movie, with a dance number. Yes, I mean dance number, because Mads Mikkelsen just goes all out and he just does what he does, and it's a feel-good ending to a movie that needed a feel-good ending, which is fantastic, which was so well done because the dialogue is great. The movie keeps going. There's no breaks in it, and if there are breaks in it, it picks up again in the next scene. And with what the director did and how the director wrote it was really good. And it's one of those movies where you really have to check it out to understand what it's about. And like I said, it's about the meaning of life and what we go through and how we go through and what we consume to get through our daily life, and what happens if we spiral downward. So it really touches on certain subjects and points where if you've been through it, you understand what it is. If you haven't been through it, then hey, watch a movie like this and understand what you're going through in your life, because Another Round is just that. It's a fantastic movie with things happening, and you want more of it. You want more of this movie. And hey, like I said, this is a foreign film. It's a Danish, Swedish, Netherlands movie, and not many of you have heard of it, but it did premiere at the Toronto Film Festival in September of 2020. And it's really, really good. And the reason I checked it out was because I love Mads Mikkelsen as an actor. He did fantastic in the Hannibal series where he played Hannibal Lecter. He was great as the villain Le Chiffre in Casino Royale alongside Daniel Craig as James Bond. So this movie goes to show his acting and what he can do and how his prowess is. And it just goes to show that he's going to be getting a lot of great roles in his future acting career, especially because his filmography is just that great. So there you have it, my top 10 best movies of 2020. And there are some honorable mentions that didn't make my top 10 list of best movies in 2020, and those movies were The Midnight Sky, starring George Clooney, The Trial of the Chicago 7, starring Sacha Baron Cohen and directed by Aaron Sorkin, News of the World with Tom Hanks, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Chadwick Boseman, Promising Young Woman, Onward, and Mank. So those are the honorable mentions that didn't make my top 10 list, but are also good movies to check out and watch for, a great thing that you don't want to miss out on. And let me know in the comment section below what your top 10 or top 5 best movies of 2020 were. Did you like my list? Did you agree with my list? Did you disagree with my list? Let me know and give me some criticism and feedback, and what you think is a good movie to watch, check out, or review. Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos on my channel. And you know where to follow Marchio Productions and me, Mr. Filmstock. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You guys can check it out and follow along. I'm Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.